folks, Dr. Robert Barrington here with some more nutrition advice. Now this video is going to be a video that looks at spirulina, and I wanted to talk about one particular research study that I found by accident when I was looking for something else, and I just wanted to go over some of the material in this research paper because it's quite interesting and I haven't seen it covered anywhere else. And I think it might be quite useful to those people that are interested in their health. Now this was a study, the first thing to say is this was a study that looked at the effects of spirulina on rats, and therefore you have to always take that as a caveat because the study wasn't involving humans, and therefore the effects that you see on the rats may not be exactly the same as you see in humans. But rats are mammals. They have many of the same enzyme systems, they have many of the same transport systems on cell membranes, and they are used quite extensively as models for human physiology. So there is very likely to be some crossover into the way spirulina interacts in human biochemistry, taken from this study. But having said that, you always have to bear in mind that it doesn't necessarily mean that these effects are going to be real in humans. Now this study was quite an interesting study because it looked first, there's two important things to say. Firstly, to look at the use of fluoride in the study. Now the study wanted to understand if spirulina had a neuroprotective effect in rats, and what the researchers did is they actually gave pregnant rats sodium fluoride in order to be able to cause a neurotoxic effect. And I think that's the first important thing about this study, is that sodium fluoride, a lot of my my subscribers and people that watch my videos, they will already know that fluoride is a toxin. It's a neurotoxin, and this study shows that scientists do give sodium fluoride. They give fluoride compounds in order to cause damage to animal brains. So that's probably no surprise to many of the people who are watching this video, but it's worth mentioning that they actually induced, in the control animals, they induced this neurotoxicity by giving sodium fluoride to the pregnant rats, and this effect was then measured on the pups of those rats when they were born. So this is a generational thing. You give a pregnant rat sodium fluoride and its pup is affected. So when they compared the behavior, the antioxidant status, and the neurobiology of the rats that had been given sodium fluoride, they found there was a detrimental effect over those that were control rats, which had just a normal diet. So the first thing to say is that the sodium fluoride was neurotoxic. It did cause oxidative stress, and it did change the behavior of the rats when they were born. Now another group of rats were given sodium fluoride and spirulina, and the purpose of the study was to see if the spirulina was able to protect the rats from the damaging effects of the sodium fluoride. And the results of the study are quite interesting. I'll put the paper in the comments box below this video in case you want to have a look at it in detail, but the results of the study were very interesting. The spirulina, the content of the spirulina was measured, and spirulina is a rich source of many nutrients. It contains antioxidants, so we've got phycocyanin is a compound that's known to be an antioxidant in spirulina. There's also lots of beta carotene. Spirulina, if it's grown in controlled conditions in tanks, it tends to be very high in minerals. It tends to be very low in pollutants, and it's seen by many as a superfood. So it's no surprise that the spirulina had a positive antioxidant effect on the rats. So the oxidative stress that was seen in the rats that were given sodium fluoride, that was ameliorated in the rats that were given spirulina, and that's no real surprise because spirulina is high in antioxidants. And there was actually a measurement of glutathione peroxidase in the cells of the rats, and that was shown to have the rats that were given spirulina had an increase in the glutathione peroxidase, which is one of the important cellular enzyme antioxidant systems that all mammals have in their cells. Another effect of the spirulina was that there was a reduction in sodium fluoride content of the blood of the rats given spirulina. In other words, the spirulina was able to remove some of the sodium fluoride from the tissues of the rats. And this is, again, nutritionists have known this for some time. Spirulina is able to cleanse the blood, it's able to remove heavy metals, it's able to remove toxins from animal and human tissue, and therefore it's no surprise that the rats that were given spirulina actually had lower levels of sodium fluoride in their blood compared to the animals that were simply given sodium fluoride. So spirulina was also able to remove some of the sodium fluoride, which may explain some of the beneficial effects of the compound, because obviously not only was there an antioxidant effect that would have helped with the detrimental effects of the sodium fluoride. If you can actually remove the sodium fluoride from the tissues, you're actually going to have, in the long term, you're going to have more of a beneficial effect. And lastly, the researchers looked at the behaviour of these rats after they were born. And what they found, they did a number of different tests on the rat pups. They did, various nasty things to them, like throwing them in the air to see if they could right themselves and orientate themselves. They put them through various maze tests to test their cognitive ability, and they also tested the anxiety levels of the rats by exposing them to experimental stress, and to see how resistant they were to that stress, and how when they were under that stress, how their behaviour was effective. Generally, if you place a rat under mild stress, and stress to a rat can be just putting them in an open space. Rats don't like to be in open spaces. They tend to like to be in corners, in dark places. So if you put them in an open space and they're happy to be there, that shows they have less anxious behaviour than if they become uncomfortable. And all of these tests were done on these rats, and what they found was that the spirulina was able to normalise the behaviour of the rats, such that those rats that received the spirulina with the sodium fluoride had the same behavioural aspects as to their behaviour as the control rats that were just given a normal diet. However, there were detrimental changes, like I said, to the behaviour of the rats that were given sodium fluoride, and that was an indication that the neurobiology, probably the hormonal levels, the hormonal systems within those rats had been disrupted, and therefore their behaviour had changed. There was a disruption to the one hormone system that the researchers did look at was the thyroid system, and again, nutritionists have said that sodium fluoride is damaging to our thyroid system, and our thyroid system is our hormone system that determines our metabolic rate. It determines how much muscle we have, how much fat we have, and the sodium fluoride was able to negatively affect that hormonal system, whereas the spirulina was actually able to rebalance that and normalise the thyroid production in the rats. So this shows that spirulina is it's evidence of what a lot of people probably already knew, that spirulina is a very healthy food. It contains lots of antioxidants, it contains minerals, it contains vitamins, there's quite a high level of protein there, there's some fibre there as well, and there may even be compounds in spirulina that haven't been identified. This happens all the time, compounds get overlooked, but when you look at spirulina as a whole, it is a blue-green algae, so it photosynthesizes. There's lots of chlorophyll in spirulina, and therefore really it's a plant food. And this goes to show and support the evidence I presented in some of my other videos that plant foods are they're anti-anxiety foods. They're anxiolytic. They have very high levels of antioxidants, and therefore they prevent oxidative stress. And their ability to protect hormonal systems and the neurochemistry of the brain actually shows that plant foods are able to normalise behaviours that Western foods and Western diets can cause can actually have detrimental effects. Plant foods are able to stabilise those detrimental effects. So think of spirulina as a very important food. It can be taken as a supplement, but really it's no different to any other real plant food. It's usually taken in its although it's taken maybe in a powder or it's dried, it really is in its whole form. And if you have anxiety, if you feel that you're, you want to, remove some of the sodium fluoride from your diet, you feel that your intake is too high, maybe you have sodium fluoride added to water and you want to counteract that, spirulina appears to be something that could be considered. It may have beneficial effects in increasing the excretion of sodium fluoride from our tissues, and that may actually have beneficial effects on our physiology and our neurobiology. So I do encourage you to read the paper if you can, even if you read the abstract. I will put the paper in the comments box below this video. Spirulina, it's a great food. It's coming down in price. It's available in powders. There's no reason why you shouldn't take it. It has an excellent safety record. And if you consider it as just as simply as a plant food that you add to your diet like any other plant food, think of it like a vegetable. It doesn't have to be thought of as a supplement. It's taken in its whole form. It's very worth considering. It does seem to have some very, very important health effects. As always, eat well, stay healthy, and protect yourself. And I'll see you soon for another video. Take care.